I never thought one night could destroy my family, but when my stepmother called me laughing about what she had done, my father's heart nearly gave out. And now, I can't stop wondering if it's my fault.
Welcome to Reddit Toxic Family Telltales channel. New episode every day.
My stepmother and I, we were oil and water from the very beginning. But nothing could have prepared me for the night she crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. It was late. My phone buzzed, and when I picked up, I was met with her slurred voice, dripping with spite. She bragged, that she had just burned every last belonging of my late mother. Asterisk, I burned them. It was all junk anyway. I've hated how you people kept her in your lives. You should thank me. It's a favor, really. Asterisk. Couldn't even find words. My throat closed up. All I could do was hang up. But then, the messages started flooding in. Ping after ping. She was sending me photos, piles of ashes, and to twist the knife even deeper, she plastered laughing emojis over every single one. Here's the worst part. My dad and I were camping when this happened. Out in the woods, where everything is quiet and peaceful. I woke him up, shaking, telling him what she had done. First, he thought I was joking. But when I shoved the pictures in front of him, he went pale. He staggered out of the tent, clutching his chest. A heart attack. Right there, in the middle of the forest. My hands were trembling so badly as I dialed for an airlift. 15 minutes. That's how long it took the helicopter to arrive. 15 minutes where I thought I was about to watch my dad die in front of me. I held his hand the entire way, whispering, asterisk, hang on, Dad. Please just hang on. Asterisk. Meanwhile, my stepmother kept blowing up my phone, demanding I answer her calls. Can you imagine? While my dad was fighting for his life, she wanted me to pick up so she could spew more poison. I ignored her. I couldn't waste a second on her, not then. At the hospital, they rushed him into the ICU. Machines everywhere, wires, the steady beeping that felt like it was mocking me. I sat there, gripping his hand, watching his chest rise and fall. The thought of losing him, God, it felt unbearable. And the guilt? Crushing. I kept thinking, if I hadn't told him, maybe he wouldn't have had the attack. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. He deserved the truth. Hours blurred into what felt like eternity until finally. The doctor said he'd stabilized. They told me he was lucky, but fragile. That any more stress could tip him over the edge. Fatal. So I stayed by his side for days, barely leaving the room. Every time I stepped out, I felt this panic. Like if I wasn't there, something terrible would happen. And through it all, my stepmother's betrayal kept replaying in my head. Her hatred of my mom. It wasn't new. It had been brewing from the start. I still remember the first Thanksgiving she joined our family. The first holiday after my dad introduced her. Everyone was eager to meet the woman who brought a spark back into his eyes after years of grief. She sat there, nervous but smiling, holding his hand. Dinner was warm, filled with laughter. And of course, as always, the conversation drifted to my mom, Mary. Her memory was just woven into everything. Aunt Linda leaned over, smiling at my stepmom and said, asterisk, you're just as beautiful as Mary was. My brother sure knows how to pick them. Asterisk, everyone agreed. But I noticed my stepmom's smile falter for just a second before she plastered it back on. As stories flowed, my mom's famous pecan pie, how she'd sneak extra slices to my cousin Jake, the way she made everyone feel like the most important person in the room. My stepmom sat there nodding, smiling, but I could see it. The tension, the way her jaw tightened. Then came Uncle Joe's prayer. His voice rang out. Asterisk, Lord, we thank you for this meal, and for the family gathered here. We ask you bless Mary's soul. May she rest in peace, and know she is missed every single day. Asterisk. The second he said my mom's name, I felt my stepmom stiffen beside me. Her grip on my hand tightened painfully. Her eyes were closed, but I saw it. The way her face twisted, like the mention of my mom's name was a dagger to her chest. That's when it hit me. She was bitter, resentful. She hated that no matter how hard she tried, she could never erase my mom from our hearts. She wasn't competing with another woman. She was competing with a memory, a ghost. When the prayer ended, she let go of my hand so fast it startled me. She grabbed her wine glass, gulping it like water. My dad, sweet and oblivious, just smiled at her and gave her hand another squeeze, whispering reassurance. But me, I saw it. I saw everything. One morning in the hospital, my dad opened his eyes and for the first time in days, there was real clarity in them. His voice was weak, but steady when he said, asterisk, I need to talk to Stephanie. Asterisk. My stomach dropped. Part of me wanted to shield him, to protect him from more stress. But he wasn't the type of man to let something like this fester. He knew it and I knew it too. Keeping quiet would only eat him alive. So I nodded. We would face her, but we'd face her together. When he was finally discharged, still pale and fragile, we headed home. The moment we walked in, I felt the tension like a storm cloud hanging over the house. And there she was, sitting in the living room, flipping through TV channels as if nothing had happened. The sight of her almost made me explode, but I held it together, for my dad. Stephanie, we need to talk, he said firmly. Her head shot up and for a second she looked shocked. Then she plastered on a smile, stood, and moved toward him like she was about to embrace him. But my dad shoved her away. The look on her face, stunned. Like she couldn't believe he dared reject her. Asterisk. What's wrong with you? Asterisk, she snapped. He didn't hesitate. You know damn well what's wrong. You burned my wife's things. For a heartbeat she froze, her face flushing red. Then, like flipping a switch, she twisted it back on him. Asterisk, if you didn't still love her, then why does it matter? They were just things. Junk cluttering the house. Asterisk. The veins in my dad's temple throbbed, his breathing growing heavy. I reached out, urging him to sit down before he pushed himself too far. But even weakened, he yanked his arm away. Asterisk. This was all she had left of her mother, and you destroyed it. For what? To free up space. Asterisk, he roared. She rolled her eyes like a bratty teenager. You're being too dramatic. You can't live in the past forever. It's time to move on. His face burned red. This isn't about moving on. It's about respect. That's when I couldn't stay silent anymore. And the fact that you're not even sorry makes it worse. I snapped. She turned on both of us, her voice sharp as a blade. Asterisk. This is my house too. I'm the wife now. If you two have a problem with that, you can leave. Honestly, you should be thanking me. Without all that junk lying around. Maybe you'll finally heal instead of moping over a dead woman. Asterisk. My dad's jaw clenched, his voice low but shaking. I pay the mortgage. My name is on the deed. You need to leave. Now. That was his breaking point. Not only had she burned my mother's memory, but she hadn't once visited him in the hospital. And now this, but Stephanie refused. She planted her feet, her voice climbing louder and louder until my dad's face drained of color again. My heart lurched. I forced him back onto the couch, shielding him. Leave him alone, I shouted. She didn't care. Not even a flicker of remorse at the sight of him gasping for breath. Eventually, I got him upstairs to rest, but the air in that house was poisoned. The next morning was unervingly quiet. My dad stayed in bed, exhausted, each breath heavy through the thin walls. I padded downstairs, half hoping, half dreading that she'd be gone. But no, there she was at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, scrolling her phone like it was just another morning. No guilt, no shame, just smug. It didn't take long before the phone started ringing. First my aunt. She wanted to know why my stepmother had called her in the middle of the night crying, saying my dad and I were bullying her, ganging up on her in her own home. I tried explaining, but it was useless. Stephanie had already spun her web. Then came a call from my dad's best friend. Same story. Stephanie had told him my dad was losing it, that grief had twisted him, and that we were the aggressors. She was making it sound like we were unstable, like we were the ones hurting her. And all the while, I could see her in my peripheral vision, still typing away on her phone, a smirk tugging at her lips. Finally, I snapped. I slammed my mug onto the counter so hard the crack of it echoed like a gunshot. What the hell are you doing? I demanded. She looked up at me slowly, her expression infuriatingly calm. Asterisk, making sure people know the truth. You and your father clearly aren't in the right state of mind, so I'm handling it. Asterisk. I laughed, sharp, bitter. She was serious. You're lying to everyone. You're painting us as villains. I'm protecting myself, she shot back. People deserve to know what's happening in this house. I've never been welcomed here. You've treated me like a placeholder since the day I walked in. Just admit it. Couldn't hold back. This is my father's house. And you're bitter because you'll never be half the woman my mom was. Get out, or I'll call the police. Her chair scraped as she stood. She didn't blink, didn't flinch, just stared at me with cold eyes. Asterisk, we'll see about that. Asterisk. And then, she brushed past me and walked out the door, leaving me standing in the kitchen, my fists clenched, heart pounding. That's when I realized, this wasn't over. Not even close. Stephanie wasn't done. She was going to fight dirty. And if we didn't find a way to stop her, she was going to take everything from us. After the flood of phone calls from family and friends, things spiraled fast. My dad started stressing again. More than ever. He couldn't sleep, couldn't relax, his nerves were shot. And with every sleepless night, his heart got weaker. The doctors pulled me aside, their voices heavy with warning. Asterisk. He can't take much more of this. If something doesn't change, he might not make it. Asterisk. I looked at my father, frail, exhausted, yet still trying to put on a brave face, and I knew I couldn't let that woman destroy him any longer. We needed her gone. Permanently. That's when I realized. This wasn't a battle we could fight on our own. We needed legal help. So we found a lawyer who specialized in family law. And from that moment, the war began. Stephanie fought us with everything she had. She dragged her heels at every turn, twisted words, tried to paint herself as the poor victim who'd been mistreated by a grieving family. She cried to anyone who'd listen, spinning her lies like a spider web. But here's the thing about lies. Under pressure, they crack. The court saw through her act. They saw the cruelty, the manipulation, the lack of empathy. They saw the way she had tormented my father while he was hanging by a thread. The divorce was ugly. She tried to drag it out, bleed us dry financially, crush us emotionally. Every day was another round in the ring, and she loved every second of the fight. But in the end, it didn't matter. The court ruled in our favor. She was ordered to leave, and just like that, she was gone. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. It wasn't instant healing. My dad's health was still fragile. The stress had left scars that no doctor could erase. But slowly, day by day, he began to recover. And for the first time in a long time, we started to rebuild. We didn't talk much about my mom's belongings. The loss was too raw, too painful. But one day, while digging through some dusty boxes in the attic, I stumbled across something that stopped me cold. A small envelope, tucked in the corner. My name written across the front, in my mother's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, words she had written to me before she passed. She told me how much she loved me, how proud she was of the person I was becoming. And at the very end, she wrote, asterisk, no matter what happens, always remember, I'm with you. In every memory, every moment. I'm there, asterisk. Tears blurred the page as I clutched it to my chest. For the first time in so long I felt peace. My mom was gone, but she was still here. In me, around me, always. Time passed, and the pain dulled. My dad and I grew closer than ever. We couldn't undo the past, but we could shape the future, and that's exactly what we did. We moved into a new house, a fresh start. That first night, we sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky gold. My dad turned to me with a tired but genuine smile. We made it, he whispered. I smiled back. Asterisk, yeah, Dad, we did. Asterisk. And in that moment, I knew my mom was watching over us, and she would have been proud of who we had become.
Thanks for watching. Today's train wreck is over, but tomorrow's ride is already on track. Subscribe so you don't miss it.